Having strategically made the decision that we were not going to go into the south, at least not for a long time, we're going to be a great northern retailer. Well, now you're thinking, okay, what's up in the north? We knew Alaska was there, but then we got serious about looking at what really was there.
There's always apprehension when you know that that change is going to be coming. But at the same time, those of us that had spent a few years with the company at that time and realized its potential, knew that we would never get to where this company could go without having somebody coming on board that had the systems, the capital, the resources in general that we can use to build the business.
We looked at the markets, we checked out the competition, the kind of retailers that were there. Most of the Alaska communities lined up with places that we did business in, so that made us feel like there was a potential fit.
I was initially surprised that people considered that I would be a candidate for the job as CEO of Northwest. I wasn't a retailer and didn't quite see myself in that role.
Like in every transaction, you tend to find the warts later.
Well, we were losing money. The Alaska stores were not doing well. We thought we had to change our game plan there, and we decided that Edward was the one to do it.
So Edward came over. He had an open mind to things. He wasn't, Edward at that time was still early in his retail career. He was still learning the business.
The tough part of it, the slogging with our competition, getting the strategies right, the right people in the right roles, took about 3 years. And I was fortunate to find two very good people. One, a store operations expert, Dick Hodge, who competed against us but came over to work for us, and Jerry Bittner, who was a very strong merchant and marketing guy. And the two of them were great partners, and then later on with Rex. That was really the leadership that I was able to cement in place that got AC off to the right footing. After those 3 years, the business improved year over year over year for, I think it's like 14 or 15 years. So it's not just stabilized, but it became what it is today, a real preeminent leading retailer in Alaska.
We got ourselves on a path that took us to some significant growth and positioned AC to the business that it is today.
I was always looking for ways to structure the company to give a greater proportion to these investors pre-tax, because Income Trust had quite a following among investment analysts and institutions, and it got us some name recognition that we wouldn't have received as a small cap retailer.
We decided to close down these extra distribution centers that were really put in place for the large stores. And I amalgamated them all into Winnipeg, which at that time was probably the second most automated distribution center in Canada.
We were brought west in groups. Various groups were come because we had to close Montreal, we had to close Toronto. And when we arrived, our spouses who also came with us were given employment at the WC as it brought it up and running. So we've got quite a few family connections there, and quite a few people did move. I don't know the exact number, but I think it was over 50.
We actually opened up our first food warehouse in Winnipeg in the late 80s and started stocking maybe 1,000 fast-moving SKUs. And that was kind of the impetus of the food marketing group, where we started dealing with suppliers directly, negotiating with suppliers directly, and had a lot more influence in the food business in general. We also started to expand. I think it was probably 92 when we actually added our first category manager and became category managers, and we had brought somebody in from the outside to help our group, and that was really the start of having a food team separate from operations.
We were able to bring that retail pharmacy experience to a customer that really has not had that exposure to it, which is pretty rewarding in that way. So, and then on the telepharmacy side, we had a small hospital telepharmacy program that we had started for the Winnebago Health in Moose Factory, and also in Timmins, and that as well we had grown from just those 2 contracts to, I believe, about 12.
I could see that in a very short period of time that this company was going to move into and do great things and become a billion-dollar corporation in a very short time.
Well, Edward physically returned from Alaska in 1997, but he had never quite left. I mean, he was still part of the overall management committee. He was a director of the Northwest Company during that period, which I think was a clear signal to the company and to outsiders that he was a succession candidate, and that the board and Canadian management valued his input. Well, at that point, the board made me chair of the board, and I continued in that role for another 12 years. Edward is a very independently minded CEO, but he certainly welcomes input and certainly engages it. Yeah, the Giant Tiger business development was very much Edward's baby. He had developed a relationship with Jeff York and Gordon Reed at Giant Tiger.
I invited Gordon Reed, their CEO, founder, to come out to Winnipeg. And we drove around Winnipeg and looked at sites, and I thought I had done my homework because I took them around to what I thought were some of the best locations in Winnipeg. These were number one on Regent Lachimoje. It was an empty hardware, I think of an old McDermott's lumber, turned into a fitness studio. And he just said, no, won't work, too busy. The corner was too busy, there's too much retail going on in that corner. And he kind of put thumbs down on a couple more sites, and I thought, well, this isn't going well. I think Winnipeg's a great market for Giant Tiger. First, we tested a store in Thompson, and I think Giant Tiger and us both thought that was a smart thing to do, even though we didn't have a formal agreement in place, but was to just really test this out and see. And I thought if it worked in Thompson, it would work almost anywhere because of the freight costs and the labor challenges in Thompson. And Thompson did really, really well. And the next number of stores did well. And by that time, we had signed up our agreement.
I'm used to working in mall-type locations where people come to you. So I thought, you know, who would shop at this location? It's a rundown mall for a reason. Well, that wasn't the case. I've never seen an opening like that. We had lineups outside. We had to stop people from coming in. We actually had security stop people and let, 10 in at a time. It was absolutely crazy.
Cost You Less was an opportunity that we knew that Edward had been following, and it came up all of a sudden when the company put themselves on the market.
Why would we want stores in the far Pacific, and why would we want stores in the Caribbean?
When you serve hard-to-reach shoppers, you do pay attention to anyone else who does something similar. We've got first world and third world infrastructure side by side on the island, which we felt we were adaptable to. And we started to look at Cost You Less more seriously. It led to us wanting to move forward.
Now that we've been part of the Northwest Company, we realized the stability that it brought to our company. Financial stability, growth, more education, support, a larger support system than what we had before, and just growth coming from the expertise of the Northwest Company in running stores in remote locations.
There are more opportunities in the Caribbean. We've taken a look at that market extensively, especially the Eastern Caribbean, and there are easily six markets there that could provide some growth to us. When you look at the South Pacific, as vast an area as that is, it's really exciting about what some of the potential is.
I think the Cost You Less acquisition has been good in developing our mindset of retail formats. I decided, after 12 years as being chair, that we needed to have the transition to a younger chair, and also to ensure that we had good board succession. Sandy's an eloquent spokesperson. Like all of us, developed a real love for the northern business, because I don't think otherwise we would have got a person of that talent.
I joined the board, which was a really well-established board, a number of directors who've been on the company's board for many, many years. I was one of the new boys, along with Bob Kennedy, I believe, at the time. And I really spent the first couple of years getting my feet wet, just getting a sense of I didn't in the first meeting know what a SKU was. And I had all these acronyms I had to learn about, which I have, I think, picked up on in the last few years. But several years later, as the board continued to evolve, there was a need when Ian Sutherland decided to retire to replace him as chairman, and a number of the other members of the board asked me if I would be prepared to do it, and I was delighted because I really see this company as being one of the most interesting enterprises in Canada, and I think the word enterprise is a wonderful way to describe the North West Company.
Our customer base is the most rapidly expanding sector of Canada, in that the birth rate is higher than it is anywhere else, so there's growth there.
I see lots of ability to improve our operations and our core business in northern Canada and Alaska.
Literally within the span of my career, I moved from paper and pen to the type of electronic business intelligence and that we have today. I think it's one of the most exciting parts of having worked at Northwest over this period of time is that rapid pace of change.
So Northwest has got a couple more years to go on being a more effective retailer, more growth in store. Yet the world doesn't stop, the world doesn't wait. While we get all these internal opportunities and efficiencies right for our customers. In the future, people will know Northwest for being the place to go, to get product moved, and to see this endless aisle of assortment and services and products that they can find anywhere else in the world, brought to their doorstep and backed up by a reputable brand who knows what they're doing when it comes to serving small, hard-to-reach communities. I see us as having a tremendously bright future, and 25 years from now, we're going to look back on this 25-year period and see as much change and as much growth as we've seen in the last 25 years.